Who does not enjoy a good old rage quit? Carefully designed mechanics targeted to fuck you up. Well, I don't. That's why I invested maybe a little too much time in fixing and balancing these goddamn turrets. Stationary weaponized constructions of terror, armed with machine guns and rocket launchers. What a joy to develop these little bad boys. Let's dive in some technical details. After you've reached Tower Mode Layer 4, you will face both variants of turrets for the first time. The behavior of the turret is based on a simple state machine. When the player is out of range and not in line of sight of the turret is disabled. When the player enters the range of the turret and is in line of sight, the state of the turret changes to targeting. While the turret is trying to target the player with its built-in laser sight, it's not firing. I'm lerping the rotation of the head of the turret towards the player. The rotation speed is limited by a parameter to give the turret a more realistic touch and to balance it. If the turret's rotation would be locked to the player's direction, it would be far too difficult and annoying for the player. So I added a max rotation speed parameter that I can change for every turret instance. If the laser sight touches the player, the state of the turret is changed to firing. Depending on the type of the turret, it's either firing bullets or launching a homing missile. We'll get to the ballistics shortly. The firing state can only be changed if the player leaves the range of the turret or gets out of sight of the turret. The turret then will return to its disabled state. Now let's talk about the projectiles itself. The machine gun turrets have some special parameters like the rate of fire. In this example, the time between shots is set to 0.4 seconds. The actual shot logic is relatively simple to explain. When the turret starts shooting a bullet, the object of the projectile gets teleported to the left or right muzzle of the gun. In the same frame, the actual physical movement of the projectile gets initiated. The bullet moves in a defined direction by a defined bullet speed. The bullet mesh has a child object with a trail renderer. This trail renderer visualizes the trajectory of the bullet to the player. I think it's a cool visual effect. Since the projectile is really fast, I'm not depending on a rigid body collision detection. I'm just getting the impact point using a raycast and let the bullet travel to this point over some frames, depending on the bullet speed parameter. When the actual impact is happening, I just teleport a pulled particle effect to this position and start playing it. I also perform an operation called overlap sphere with a really small radius. This operation allows me to detect intersecting objects. If the character object is intersecting with the impact point, I'll apply a physical force to it, causing a knockback. The homing missile is based on a separate logic. When the turret starts launching the rocket, a pulled rocket mesh gets teleported to the opening of the tube. In the same frame, the movement and the homing logic gets initiated. The rocket itself has two parameters, moving speed and rotation speed. These two parameters are used to balance the difficulty of the rocket launcher. Each physics update the rocket moves and rotates a bit, based on moving speed, rotation speed, and of course of the current position of the player. If the rocket collides with something like the player or environment, it causes an explosion. The rocket will also explode automatically if it is flying for 12 seconds or more. The explosion itself is similar to the impact of a bullet. Instead of using the overlap sphere method, I'm just using a simple raycast to decide if I need to apply a physical impact force to the player or not. The ray gets casted from the center of the explosion towards the player. If there's an object between the player and the core of the explosion, there will be no knockback. The ray is also limited in its length. The length equals to the radius of the explosion itself. This is a very simple but effective logic to check range and line of sight of the explosion. I can also use the direction of the raycast and pass it to the knockback I might add. With all this in mind, let's check out some gameplay of Layer 4. Looks fun, doesn't it? Oh, and by the way guys, Tower Mode playtesting begins shortly, and I want to expand my core playtesting team by 1 or maybe 2 additional playtesters. So if you want to playtest Cloud Escape 2.0 including Tower Mode and have at least some basic testing experience, just hit me up on my Discord. But please be aware that I don't take any more feature requests. That's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're interested in Tower Mode or Cloud Escape in general, feel free to wishlist it on Steam. There will be a special discount with the release of 2.0 and Tower Mode. If you had fun watching this video, please leave a like and maybe consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. Thank you guys and see you next time.